is Heidi Hollis. Heidi, it is such an honor to have you here, and I know you're feeling a little...
blast. I'm honored to be here. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's what it's all about. We're going to go ahead. We've got a caller on hold that I picked up while we were in the news break, and he would like to talk to you. So let's go ahead and pick him up and just start right in, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, caller, good evening. You are on.
Hey, Heidi. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, I would like to ask you a question about, well, it's pretty obvious that, you know, this realm where this kind of stuff exists, like shadow people and ghosts and, you know, the paranormal, like a different dimension or whatever it is. I was kind of wondering, do you think there's a possibility that they tried to weaponize this sort of energy at all, or maybe like be friends with it, you know what I mean, kind of thing?
Oh.
Is that possible?
You know, that's a good question because when it comes to these negative beings, these shadow beings in particular, as I mentioned, they're associated with negative alien beings that are known for abducting and terrorizing people, and also seen alongside of our military, you know, government workers helping to abduct people and examine people. And when you think about those ties, and you think of these things, what are they doing? What is going on here? What are all the implications? And essentially everything imaginable that you can imagine that they could do and be up to. I found that this is true, and that comes along with our government having essentially made a deal with the devil and thought they could win. So they allowed these beings to infiltrate, to do what they want to do with people, and then it got out of hand, and they weren't able to stop them. And then they started...
You know, it kind of does seem like that, you know, because I have kind of sensed that something like that is happening to me a lot of times, you know. I mean, really, my whole life story has been pretty wild, actually, you know. From, I just kind of come across something, you know, like researching astrology and numerology and all these different things, you know. And something about my birthday and the star alignment on that particular day, there was something that happened, some sort of, I forget, something happened, you know. I haven't really been able to find much information out about it. I've seen it once, and I haven't been able to come across it again, but I keep coming across this. Walter Hellmuth was a scientist that invented some rocket technology and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, they're always putting up that he passed away on December 16th, 1980. That was my birthday, you know. And it's almost like I kind of remember them trying to, like, do something with his soul or something like that, you know. And I've always had, like, real bad memories of the Holocaust and stuff like that before I even, like, knew anything about it, you know, like all these memories and stuff, you know. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But,
that's fascinating. I mean,
we're all talking about all this stuff because...
No, I understand. Now, there is a lot to be said about the inner workings of, you know, our government, what they would, you know, why would they make a deal with the devil? You know, why would they do this? What could be given to them that's worth the while? And why would these superior beings, supposedly, you know, what are they getting out of it? You know, you gotta wonder, what was the exchange? You know, so we got some technology, and perhaps these other things got a means of survival from us and making use of the inhabitants. And but the thing is, you know, with every Trojan horse gift that's given, you know, there may be a sneaky warrior tucked in there, and these shadow beings are kind of part of that kind of sneak attack that's going on. And essentially, when it comes to these shadow beings, this is not the first planet they've done this to, is the information that I've received in regard to them,
right?
Why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay. See how it's kind of affected me is, like, it's really stopped me from doing what I want to do, you know, like my true passion, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like it's there to try to block me from that for some reason, you know.
Oh, that's one of their favorite things to do, is to block people's energy out so they don't reach their full potential. Doing that, one of their conquering war songs, like "Yay, we did that one." You know, some people that are totally knocked off their path by these things are not knocked off because they're rotten people. Always, sometimes they are rotten, but other times it's because their light is so bright and their future is to help and do great things, and that they don't want to see happen. So they know things that they shouldn't know. Like they know future things, it almost seems to be. They are able to take a look into our dreams. And, you know, it's funny, I've had many people, you know, I try to help, I help them get rid of these things out of their lives, only for them to come into their dreams. What's that?
Kind of like they're kind of stirring their fingers and messing with people's karma and stuff, you know, kind of.
Oh, of course.
Really, yeah, I don't know. It's really intense.
The thing is not to let them. Not to let them. They're not paying the rent in your life. So if they're there now, they don't belong. So send them on their way. I've had a pretty intense life so far, you know. I think that, like, I grew up in, like, a pretty bad neighborhood in Flint, Michigan, you know, so I've seen a lot of stuff growing up there, you know, and, I found myself in northern Michigan, though, and, there's, like, this monolithic structure up here that, it's got a house built on it right now, you know, because I was kind of asking people around the area about, some kind of bizarre stuff, you know, and they, she points me to this, house up here on this hill that's supposedly called Monk's Mansion, you know, and I pulled it up on the Google Maps, and it's like, I don't know what it is. It's a real old church or something from way back in the day, you know. And yeah, I find myself like right in the midst of all this stuff, you know, and it's like a hotbed for something going on here, you know. Yeah, but you
really
can't let it.
Beautiful area, you know, but and a lot of rich people, you know, so. You know, I gotta be careful. I don't want to.
Not to let it. But you know, even though you if you get pulled towards something like that, or to look that direction, and you feel like things are messing with your life, you know, it's just so you know, it's difficult to hear you a bit. So I'm trying to address what I'm hearing, but you know, not to let it defeat you. You know, not to leave its mark on you, because I'm sorry, but these things, yeah, they're powerful, whatever, but we're more powerful, and it's about your determination, about where you put your foot down and put it into their backside, even, because these things have been doing this for a very, very long time to many, many, many people on many different species, from my understanding, and they're not planning to slow down. But you can slow them down. You can stop them, and having no doubts that you can do that
it's really tough when no one around you understands like exactly what's going on with all this stuff. You know.
That's okay. Who cares?
It's what
Most
makes
people
it
don't
really
understand me
tough
either with this stuff. And trust
they
me, I
totally like
a
shut
lot.
me out. You know, like black sheep now. You know.
Who cares?
That's right. You can't worry about what others think.
Trust me. If I cared what others think, you would have never heard about shadow people.
That's right.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's getting bad to where like people are trying to kill me and stuff. Like,
that's not good.
That's not good. But you know, they may also
like
be
really intense.
So, hey, we got to let you go. We got to take a quick break coming up. Thank you so much for calling in tonight, and sharing your story, man. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Keep positive.
Huh? You there, Heidi?
Yep.
Yeah, he's got to fight it, and not.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of people, they sound so defeated in the face of this stuff, and I get that. But also, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
That's right.
You just can't let it take hold, and other people and their mouths take hold either.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio. Our guest, Heidi Hollis. That was an interesting call.
You know, he sounded really down to me, and it always breaks my heart when I hear people facing things like that. From what I was hearing, he's had some influences. I don't know, you can hear better from me, but with the shadow people stuff, and he feels people are down and after him, and it's like, I think all of us have been down a road at times where you feel like the world is beating down your door, and what is your life worth living if you're not living? So
Right.
do what it takes to find a better situation, pick up and move, and do what you need to do to survive, even in the face of health crisis. Do what you got to do. I know people that, oh gosh, I don't want to pay that much for a treatment. Well, you got to sit and go do it,
Exactly. Well, sometimes I think sometimes it's our culture too, Heidi, is that we get so, we get so buried. If it's not health things, it's financial things. I could feel, again, that gentleman, I feel for him because, again, that something's a little bit, you feel that something has happened, something catastrophic has happened to you, or you feel that it has.
Right.
And what do you do? And when you talk to people, there's some people that will listen. There's other people that'll say you're crazy, go away, or it's
Right.
It's a tough go. That's what I think you do your show all about, and that's your books and your writings, is to educate, and that's what we do, is to educate.
Yeah, truly, and I like to have a lot of fun with these topics. I laugh, I joke, I kid, because this stuff is really dark. It is really heavy, and you do have to treat it like you do any other topic. I
Right.
feel, and that's being as humanly flawed as possible, and cracking the jokes and having a good time, but taking it serious at the same time. Because I always say I know how to clear a room when I want to, but if I want people, with a scary story or something, but when I want people to, be curious and ask questions, I talk as I talk to my friends. I talk, just casually, because it's just more inviting, and you're more approachable that way. So
Right.
I don't have to sit there with a flashlight under my chin going, and then, it just doesn't have to be done.
These entities, the Hat people, and let's talk. We didn't talk about Hat Man. Is he the ruler of the Shadow People, or is he somebody totally different?
Well, he definitely seems to be somebody that has more power than the Shadow People. Are they his minions? Are they, is he the boss? I haven't sat down to talk to him, so I couldn't tell you. All I can do is go by what it is that's come across from other people's experiences in the thousands, and kind of draw a conclusion, but then allow people to draw the conclusion themselves. Even in my book, The Hat Man, I let people do that. But I also share my opinion, too. And he does seem to be able to pull more strings than others. And, the big differences. Okay, first I should describe the Hat Man. The Hat Man is essentially what I think people are calling that fictional character Slender Man. I think somebody experienced the Hat Man and changed, put a different name on it. And, it's like the same thing. He's a guy that wears a suit. It's usually black. He could wear a top hat. He could wear a gaucho hat. It could be a fedora. It could be a cowboy. He changes it up. He likes to be inventive for some reason. Three-piece suit. Sometimes you can see the white of his shirt. Sometimes you can see a chained watch on his hip. And he wears a trench coat or a cape. Sometimes he's clean-shaven. Sometimes he's not. If you're unfortunate enough to see his eyes, they could be solid black or a glowing red. Just sinister, absolutely sinister. And he is a very solid individual. Now, he can seem like a shadow of a sort because he just has that, you won't see any details. You see this black presence, but it's very defined to see that he's wearing a hat. He's in the suit. He's standing there. But when he goes to reach out or touch something, he bumps it. He knocks it. You feel him. But he can also go like a shadow to the wall. So, but the shadow people are shadowy things. They don't usually have as much of a presence. I shouldn't say no kind of presence, because I have been met with a shadow spider. It's probably the most, oh my gosh, horrible, just absolutely horrible. And you feel the weight of them. They like to drop from my ceiling and hit my bed.
Shadow spiders?
Blanket. Oh, shadow spiders are horrible, absolutely horrible. And some people will describe the shadow spiders as having a lot of tentacles, and now combine that with the Hat Man and the tentacles of the Slender Man. So he has been seen to have kind of like tentacles on him. So it's so one and the same. And now this should give you the creeps too. I put out my book, and I want to say a few days later is when I heard of the attack of the two little girls on the other little girl, where they said the Slender Man told them to do it. The girl had a dream of so-called Slender Man telling her to do this, to make a sacrifice to the Hat Man or the Slender Man. And this is my hometown this happened in. So was that a message to be like, Heidi, I saw your book came out, just wanted to give you a little nod? I don't know. But it was just freaky. Yeah. It was just horrible. But he does that type of thing. He comes in people's dreams. He tells them kill themselves, kill other people. I hope you die. Horrible things like that. So, and the shadow people are not known necessarily for speaking a whole heck of a lot, but Catman does. And his presence is one of, I want you to know I'm here. Shadow people try to run, hide, or attack you because you saw them. Catman wants to be noticed. He's wearing the same duds all the time. He does change it up a little bit, but he wants recognition. Why is that? What is he doing? Why is he wanting that type of attention all over the world? He's doing this. He could be seen any situation, night or day. He does prefer the night, and he does like to make sure you know he's there. And he'll wake you to his presence. He'll stand there at the foot of your bed, sometimes shaking you awake or coming close to your ear saying, I'm here. He's horrible. He's horrible.
Have you had interaction with these things?
Oh, yeah. I had interactions with the rotten, low-down, good-for-nothing Hat Man only when I started writing the book on him. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And this is an interesting story, and I do have this in the book, too, but oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm a practicing occupational therapist, and I work at various facilities. And I came to a facility, and I don't always let people know what it is that I do, just because a lot of people do get freaked out, but I'm open. If they want to ask me questions, I put it out there. I don't care. I don't keep it a secret, but I don't always get the chance to say, by the way, I write lots of books. So I met these two new therapists and physical therapists, and I'm like, I heard you write books. Yeah. And it's like, what are they on? And so I told them a little bit about it, and in particular, they had questions about the Hat Man. Oh, okay, so this is what it's about. So we chatted for about 15 minutes. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm sitting there doing my paperwork, and one of the therapists had to leave, and the other one had to get a patient yet. So I'm doing my work. Other therapist brings their patient down to the parallel bars to help them walk. And this is right next to, excuse me, where I'm at. And the parallel bars are surrounded, floor-to-ceiling mirrors. Okay, so this patient comes down. He's an older gentleman, but he's not delusional. He's forgetful, but that's the worst of it. So he goes in between the parallel bars, and all I hear is the therapist screaming and telling me, come out here. I go out there, and lo and behold, this patient is pointing at the mirror saying, who is this man in black that's talking to me in another language? And I'm standing there going, what? What are you talking about? He's like, what? How dare you? The guy right there, and he points right at the mirror. He's like, now he's behind you. I'm looking behind me like, oh no, And he's like, come on, stop acting like I'm crazy. The guy right there. And I'm like, is he wearing a hat? Of course he's wearing a hat. He's right there. And I said, sir, look behind us. And he was stunned. And he's like, what? Where'd he go? And he looks back at the mirror. There he is. This went on for the longest time until the guy essentially chewed us out, accusing him of being crazy.
Really?
Yeah. And what was truly, truly disturbing about this whole thing is how close the Hat Man was and heard our conversation. So much so that he showed up 15 minutes after talking about it. So that let me know that he knew and he was aware of me and what I was doing. I have not seen him directly. He's come to me. I just don't give him the time of day.
Right.
I mean, it's like, why acknowledge something that's there to terrorize you? So I just don't look at him. I don't look at him. And I send him on his way. And, you know, that's something that we didn't get into much. I also have a book called Jesus is No Joke and a book called Picture Prayers. Because when it comes to this stuff, you know, I was somebody that was raised, you know, Christian, but I was experiencing haunted stuff. I'd seen UFOs, and, you know, I kind of had these little prophetic-like dreams for myself, and, you know, just you know, little bits that let me know something was a little odd with myself, and my church didn't acknowledge that stuff. It said, you know, well, that's devilry type of stuff, and I'm like, gosh, I just sure don't feel evil, you know, and so I looked away from the church for a while as I was experiencing UFOs and whatnot and ghostly things. And lo and behold, I had to come back full circle because I was finished with the Secret War book. I was, you know, during the 4 years, I had all these promises of getting it published and publishers to back out at the last minute. And so I was editing the book here and there. And I'd actually put in that book, you know, I'd experienced so much. I'd seen angelic beings. I've seen some alien beings. I've seen so many things. And I literally put in the book, you know, when people talk about having seen Jesus and their piece of toast to a bowl of cereal, right. I was just felt like, come on. I'm like, if Jesus were around, I think I would have seen him by now, is my cocky statement I put there. Because I just didn't believe in that stuff. And so I was just about to put that book out when I had my own encounter with him. Blew me away. Did not expect it. Changed my whole tune and everything that I do and did. And I've seen him 4 times that I wrote in the book. I've seen him 1 time since. Now I haven't gotten these big holy messages of big long conversations. You know, it was more of the Heidi, you're about to make a big mistake and saying I'm not hanging around, and here I am, and just like, okay, I believe you. Okay, you're real. Got healed of an incurable disease, and you know, just you know, and saved me literally several times over from a brain tumor, a brain aneurysm, and a broken neck. So my story and my strength and my ability to even communicate with people on the levels that I aim to do, it comes from the strength of having had those experiences. Standing up to something like the Hat Man, I don't think of the dude. I really don't think of him much because I don't give him much credit. He's powerful and all that, whatever. You know, I understand, but there's something a lot more powerful, and that's God, that's Jesus, and that's what, you know, powers my engines to do what I do. And it's what you know, a lot of people are so afraid to talk about such a thing because, oh, it's religion-based. Well, you know what? You're looking at something that's the equivalent of the devil standing at the foot of your bed. What are you going to do? Like I was telling the caller, throw a shoe at him? You know, you better have something bigger in your arsenal that you can chuck at the thing, and that's, you know, that's your faith. That's your faith in God and having no doubts in it. I would have lost my mind had I not had the protection that I did, that came when it did. Because when I was having these shadow things coming all over my apartment, as I was a college student, I was sharing a space with a college roommate, and we're like, what is going on here? When spheres of light would attack these dark things. and then angelic presences, and then the Jesus experiences. And I'm like, thank God, because there is no way I would be able to do any of this stuff. So I tell people, go back to your faith. This is why I have another website called theotherfword.com for faith. I have 2 books that I have, one right now, Diary Blog of the Fickle Finders. I was a cartoonist for a while, and I put a graphic novel together, having these characters go through trying to find fickle topics that people consider to be fickle and how they take them on. And the first one being the topic of faith. And then I have another one coming soon called The Other F Word. Because
you're a busy lady.
You know what? It's so much fun.
It is.
And I'm having a blast. I'll never be bored.
Heidi, before we go on, why don't you let our listeners know where they can get your books and things?
If they go to my main website, HeidiHollis.com, that's HeidiHollis. All of my books are featured on there. So I got a book on the Hat Man, The Secret War is a book on shadow people. Jesus is No Joke is based on the encounters with Jesus. Picture Prayers is actually based on a new method of prayer that was shown to me. I had an angelic encounter. It was really kind of cool. And Diary Blog of the Fickle Finders, you can find that on more details at ficklefinders.com or go to theotherfword.com. So, I've got stuff all over the place. I'm having fun with this stuff.
Well, it sounds like it. Sounds like you're, besides your normal job, you're busy. Now, tell us about your radio show.
It's called Heidi Hollis, The Outlander, which is on the Inception Radio Network, just as yourself. What I do on that program is for the first 30 minutes at least, and sometimes I do a whole show, just, taking people's personal stories and their experiences about anything out of the ordinary, from angels to aliens, and, just giving some everyday advice, or, with some of the experiences that I've had and things that I've researched, and, trying to get people to look at their personal experiences as something doable and workable and something they could conquer and figure out. And, I think I enjoy doing that the most, knowing that I'm helping to make a difference, directly. And it also gives others a chance to hear these stories and reflect on what they've experienced. So I welcome people to write me at Das Outlander, D-A-S, as a D as in David, Outlander @gmail.com. And send me your stories, your questions, comments, curiosities. And I also have a guest, usually for an hour on the show, and we talk about whatever it is that they've written about. Or even I have people that have just experienced things come on the show and share their stories. It's fun. I mean, I really, this stuff is not stressful to me. I just like reaching out to people and hoping to make a difference. And I welcome people also. I started something called paranormalpledge.com to try to get people to start sharing between and among themselves, at least with one other person, if they've experienced something odd. Because people, some of the stories, just one of them could shake the world if people just heard it. But no one will share, and they sit there on immense amount of information that I think is just a tragedy. So I really want to encourage people, go to paranormalpledge.com. I have a couple of groups on Facebook where we just chew the fat on all this stuff and, try to help each other get through this stuff. So.
Well, and, as I've said probably for the past 4 years of doing this program, it's about being open-minded. And, and I think that's changing. I'm sure, the facts are there. When you tried to put your book out initially, people probably thought you were, they didn't think, they thought she's crazy. It's science fiction at its best. And now people are starting to question maybe their religion, maybe their faith. And I believe you need to be a spiritual person. I don't believe that, I think religions, and I'm going to be careful how I word this. I believe there's people that need structure in their lives. I believe that there's a good way to gather. There's different gathering groups, but it's more than going to that building for an hour or two or whatever on a Sunday morning. You've got to be in tune with yourself and your own spirituality and draw the strength.
Exactly. when I had my encounters with Jesus, he didn't say, Heidi, gosh, you're not going to church. You better get up early. He didn't encourage me even to go that route. I love that I have the background that I do and having gone to church as a kid. I think everybody needs a launching. I don't go to church now, and I'm okay with that. And I think the big guy is okay with that, too, because I feel after, the picture prayer book explains more, and the Jesus is No Joke book, when I had this encounter with this angelic being that essentially showed me how they communicate with God, it's a constant level of communication. It's not taking time out for prayer, because prayer takes no time at all. Once you're constantly, just sharing what your life is about, with the big guy upstairs. And that's what I do. I'm not religious, but I'm very, very religiously faithful to my faith. How's that?
Right, there you go. And that's yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think people need to start rethinking their faith and getting back to it. That's why I'm really trying to push the topic of faith. You can't just delve into the paranormal unprotected. You need to have something to back you up, and that's God. And, I have friends that have different beliefs, Muslim and Jewish, and, Jesus is my best friend. I'm Christian. I'm not New Age. I don't worship crystals, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I understand people put their faith into different things, and I don't always get it, but I'm not the person to sit there and judge people to be wrong. That's not my position. I think it's just important that we get back to what is good and positive to fight the darkness that is already here. People are so afraid of one day Revelation's going to come and, the battle in the skies. I'm like, the battle is going on right now in people's bedrooms every night. And everybody is laughing at the topic of, oh my gosh, shadow people, the Hat Man. This is what they're banking on, that people aren't going to take them seriously, and we're going to leave those people alone in their suffering and experiencing something so dark and menacing. That's why I called the book that I have, the first one, The Secret War, because it's a secret war already going. We need to step it up, and we need to, take ownership of things are going down the crapper, and people are going down with them, and this just can't happen. We got to get back to our faith.
If we could talk a little bit about, ufology, of course, is such a big thing, and now we're starting to. I don't necessarily want to say we will tie it to ufology, but we're starting to see things. There's been more reportings lately of comets, meteors, whatever you want to call it in the sky. I'll call it a celestial, maybe a celestial event isn't the right thing, but celestial things are happening. People are catching things. The news is reporting more. Do you think that, as you mentioned about kind of a war here on the ground already with evil, do you think that that there's going to be a day, Heidi, when whether it's the shadow people, the Hat Man, the Greys, the whoever, do you think we're going to see? Do you think there's going to be a day in our lifetime that something's going to be shown to the people of this planet, to this world, that there is nothing, you can't dispute it. It's not swamp gas. It's not Venus. It's not an EVP. Do you think we're going to get some sort of a sign that's going to be kind of a wake-up call?
My understanding, the more positive beings interfering with the inhabitants is against the rules. So they're not the ones that are going to be, flooding out to show themselves. And the bad guys have the upper hand on us because they do hide so well. So I think the odds are against us that that's going to happen anytime soon, because it's not to the advantage of the bad guys, because they already are friends with the powers that be here on the planet. So, our governments and making deals and whatever else, selling us down the river. I mean, it's already happening. I don't think it's outright necessary, and I don't think we should depend on our governments to ever be honest, because I don't think they're all human running things. Mm-hmm. I've heard way too many times, just happenstance, happen to bump into people. I just love these, ex-military guys that just, what, you're in a UFO? Well, let me tell you a quick story, then I got to run. It's like, what?
Right.
The stories, if people heard some of them, there's this big faction of aliens working with our government. And there's, who works in the government? Our people, our young men and women that are, deploying. And they're being shown these creatures, and they're having to take orders from them. I've bumped into several people. It's amazing. So, before we start, thinking that we have to see something with our own eyes, I tell people you've got to be able to close your eyes and trust your gut and what you feel in front of you instead of going with what you're seeing, because that's part of the battle is knowing, having an inner knowing that something is awry and you need to be on defense. You cannot depend on something revealing itself outright, because it's not to the negative one's advantage. It's not something the good guys are wanting to do. And it's like God gave us that instinct to know, get right, and get ready.
It's interesting too. Like you said, you run into some people. You've run into military people, and I have to be honest. I don't know that many military people, but I do have a friend, if you will, here in Salt Lake that worked. He wouldn't say whether it was Dugway, Groom Lake, or whatever. He's an electrical engineer, and got talking to him about aliens, and he said, I've worked in some very unique places in this state, and there's a lot of unique places in this state. And we got on the Dugway versus Area 51 thing, and I couldn't get a lot out of him. And at the end of the conversation, he said, the reason I'm not talking, and this is an older gentleman, he said, I was, if you want to call it, threatened, signed my life away to work at these places. He said, I'm sorry that I did. He said, I feel like I made a deal with the devil. He said, they told me, you could be an old man in your 80s and say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and whatever needs to be taken, whatever has to happen to keep the safety of the country under guard can happen. Basically saying that he could, physical harm could come to him or his family because they used that fear in intimidation. And he just said, I've seen things that if I explained them to you and told you, you'd think I'm crazy, but I know what I saw. I know they were real. And he goes, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want my family, my grandkids, I don't want anybody endangered, and I don't want that fear brought into my family or my life. And he said, he said, I sold my soul to the devil for a job that paid good.
Right, of course. And you know what's awesome about my job? I've run into some patients with dementia who just start flapping their gums about things. And I'm not encouraging it either. It's just out of the blue. And, other therapists have seen this happen. They're like, Heidi, it's you. You're bringing this out of them. I'm like, I did not talk about anything, And some of the stories that have come forward, I used to help the boys go back and forth from the moon all the time. I'm like, what? Just out of nowhere, and be consistent with the stories. It's, but the ex-military guys, again, they're happenstance. I bump into somebody and they just come up with these stories. And they're not at UFO conventions either. It's just people on the street. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
People should really be paying attention to each other and keep their eyes and ears open, because things are coming down, and it's been coming for a long time. But, they're being met with ridicule and laughter. So you're not going to ever learn a darn thing until you start opening up your eyes and ears and just believe a person. That person can go and testify about a murder, and they'll be believed, but they won't be believed if they've seen or experienced something like this. And I want to share something real quick, too.
Sure.
If I'm so wrong, why would the government come, and I was a college student, and abduct me and interrogate me, asking me about these things? I was a college student. Grab me in my pajamas. Really? It's like, but I'm just, talking off the top of my head. It floored me. My family has been harassed, and my family's been questioned and asked about what I'm doing, and, just odd things. But they said they were the Census Bureau. Really? Why would they ask about such things? Yeah, just, the strangest things. But, this is just, a crazy gal talking about these things. And to be honest, I really haven't had a lot of static from the public in regard to me presenting these topics. It's been other authors. It's been, people who think they know it all. For the most part, I've been met with very little resistance on the ideas of the things that I presented and the experiences I presented. So, and it just gets better, honestly. So, honestly, I feel really welcomed and the whole time going to speak at conferences and conventions. The people that put those things on try to limit me talking, but every time I got to it, the warm reception just has always blown me away.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody that's been so, kind. And I wanted to let you guys know, too, I just had my book, The Hat Man, featured on MysteriousUniverse.org by Nick Redfern. He did a fantastic book review, and I want to thank him for that. That's been really cool. So, the reception has been awesome, and I'm happy to be of help. And, I'm going to keep doing it because I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, and again, it's that's why I wanted to have you on. I got to grab a couple of your books and read them because I find your work interesting and listening to you talk, and I've come across you so many times, and I thought, hey, I gotta get you on the show here because there's so many people. Of course, we've got Inception Radio, which is great, but to bring it out here to terrestrial radio and now international shortwave broadcast radio, so you're being heard around the world tonight.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and and I write my books very much like I speak. So they're silly, they're serious, it's informative stuff.
But that's the best way.
Of course. Thank you so much. This has been a blast, and I hope to come back on again sometime.
I hope so, because there's so much that we had a lot of questions and more items to touch base on. Maybe get you back on in the spring. And hey, I want to wish you and your family a very happy holiday and get feeling better. And again, it was an honor to have you here, Heidi. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Well, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas because that's what's coming up for me. So
same here.
Thank you
I'm
so
being
much.
Neutral.
I understand. All right, be blessed and keep it going.
Take care. God bless, Heidi. Good night.
Bye-bye.